Yo, this is Deontay the Bronze Bummer Wilder, heavyweight champion of the world, and you're watching Real Fans, Real Talk.
Face facts, what up, what up?
RealFansRealTalk.com, where Arthur Diamonds, Trick Young, and intern Tom for the white and black fans, Asia to Manhattan. I get all my facts from my bro Mark the Stats Man. If you're not tuned in, I recommend the CAT scan. And if your brain checks out, then you deserve a backhand. Sports, gossip, all the hot topics. RealFansRealTalk.com got it. They got the hottest bloggers.
Is Jeremy Lin hurt?
Well, log onto the site and you can hear it from them first. I'm talking about the latest. I'm talking about the greatest. Go check out the archives. Even tell a neighbor. Tell him Bobby sent ya. From spring to winter, tuning in should be the only thing on your agenda. Certified cosign, you know what I'm about, son. RealFansRealTalk.com. I'm out one. Real fans, real talk. Real fans, real talk. RealFansRealTalk.com. RealFansRealTalk.com. Real fans, real talk. Real fans, real talk. RealFansRealTalk.com. RealFansRealTalk.com.
Live episode of Real Fans, Real Talk. I'm Mark the Statman Szuszkiewicz. A little bit of a change of scenery today. So for now, we got our blogger Eric Sanchez in the building yet again. Of course, it's NBA playoff time. A lot going on in the world of sports. My Rangers advanced to round 2. A lot to talk about. But first, how's it going, Eric?
Oh, I'm happy to be back, man. Exciting time. Playoff hockey, playoff basketball, NFL draft tonight. A lot going on.
Draft, yeah, we got a lot going on in the world of sports, but let's talk about the NBA playoffs first, since that's one of your areas of expertise.
Absolutely.
What's the biggest surprise so far in the playoffs, you think?
Biggest surprise? Well, I thought Milwaukee would challenge Toronto. They have, but it looks like Toronto's figured them out. But I guess the swing of the Boston and Chicago series. We saw 2 very impressive games in Boston by the Bulls, and then Celtics go back to Chicago and they handle business there, and now they're up 3-2 after winning last night.
I mean, a lot of that has to do, I believe personally, with Rajon Rondo getting injured.
I agree.
They had complete control, and then Rondo playing like he played back in the Celtics days. I don't know if the fact that he was playing at TD Garden, it made
I think that had a lot to do with it.
the air over there or something made him play like the old Rondo. And then, of course, he gets injured, and that changes the whole series, and now Boston back controlling the momentum.
Yeah, Boston's in full control of that series now. And I think we're seeing the Celtics that we expected to see. Isaiah, it was emotional those first 2 games, and everything settled down now, and now they kind of just got a stranglehold on the series looking to close it out.
Another series that, myself and Trip Young felt would be almost a guaranteed upset was Utah over the Clippers. But again, an injury takes play in that one. You have Blake Griffin going down, and that changes the whole series. I mean, Chris Paul stepped up on the stat-wise, but no dice on that one either.
Yeah, that one, it's been a little crazy series. Gobert went out to start the series, and now Blake is out. But I agree. We all thought Utah could put a scare in them, and it looks like they have control of the series. It's going to be tough for the Clippers to get it back to L.A. now. It's going to be really tough. They got to go to Utah and win tomorrow night.
Yeah, definitely. Now, the Washington series, Washington-Atlanta, that's kind of going back and forth. They're ahead 3-2. Do you think they close it out in 6, or do you think Atlanta pushes it to 7?
I think Atlanta might push it to 7. Those games have been really close, and Atlanta is probably the most unpredictable team in the whole playoffs. Like, you see, moments from them where they look really good and really powerful offensively, and then they have moments like last night where they struggle to score. So I think that series goes 7. I think Atlanta wins the next one.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. And it's even the Toronto-Milwaukee series, getting back to that, Game 6 is in Milwaukee, so that I think Milwaukee might be able to push that one to 7 as well. 2 sweeps, first seeds knocking. Well, Cavs are technically second seed actually, but they should have been the first seed as far as the talent-wise is concerned. But 2 sweeps, Warriors and Cavs. No surprises there, I'm guessing, right?
Were you surprised by any of those? I wasn't.
I mean, Damian Lillard was surprised. He guaranteed that
he probably was the only guy that was surprised.
Blazers were going to win in 6.
Nah, I don't think we were surprised by any of that. I think we knew both those teams were too powerful for their first-round opponents. And the real challenge for both of them starts in this next round. I mean, even though Golden State will probably handle Utah or LA, whoever comes out of there. Yeah. But for the Cavs, it gets a little tougher in the second round, whether it's Toronto or Milwaukee. It'll get a little tougher.
Well, yeah. If they were first seed, they'd probably be going up against the Wizards, and both of us agree that the Wizards are a team, because it's all about matchups. The Wizards are a team that could possibly, do some damage to the Cavs.
Yeah, they have a certain skill set, and that backcourt creates a lot of problems for the Cavs, and we saw it during the regular season. We know it's a different animal, but again, because they rely so heavily on Beal and Wall, that could put a little bit of a scare in Cleveland. But again, we probably won't see that until another round moving forward. But I expect Cleveland to be pushed a little better in the second round.
The marquee matchup, in my opinion, and pretty much every basketball fan's opinion, OKC against the Rockets. You had the two MVP candidates going at it in the first round. Westbrook put up the numbers, but wasn't able to get the job done. What's your take on the series?
I think we all kind of agreed Houston was a better team, so I'm not surprised by. I mean, I guess maybe in 5, I didn't think it was going to happen that quickly.
The biggest surprise for me on that one was Nene playing like,
Nene, yeah, he looked like old school Nene. He looked like Denver Nuggets Nene there. But I think we were just a little surprised by the 5 games. We all thought it was going to go probably 6.
6 or 7.
Yeah, so but I mean, Oklahoma City blew a lead in every game of that series. Rush was horrible in the fourth quarter of like 3 of those games. But I still think he was the MVP of the league. I think he showed that his supporting cast is not as good as Houston's. They flashed a crazy stat where Oklahoma City was outscored by 58 points when Russ was on the bench for the series. Yeah. So if that doesn't tell you enough about the supporting cast, I don't know what will.
Yeah, I mean, some people would put the blame on Westbrook at a certain extent that he was, me personally, I saw him taking up literally every shot, bad shot, doing a Kobe Bryant style. And you're not supposed to do that, but at the same time, if no one else is hitting shots, what else are you supposed to do? But do you think, the MVP candidacy was already voted on before the playoffs, supposedly.
Yes.
But what do you think, if it wasn't voted on, do you think that it would have helped Westbrook's cause or hurt his cause because he doesn't have the same assist or team play
I think it would have. I think it would have helped his cause just because we saw how bad a supporting cast was.
1 second, I'll finish that question. I think we got the NFL draft live here. Cliff, our director Cliff has something.
First selection coming in.
88 wins with an even 200 losses. They've reached the postseason exactly once, losing to divisional rival Pittsburgh in 2002. 26 different starting quarterbacks over that time frame. And then they hired Hugh Jackson. They've had 9 head coaches in the last 19 seasons. Hugh Jackson led them to a 1-15 finish last year. This is the 3rd time they've had this honor since 1999. That first year, they went with Tim Couch, the quarterback out of Kentucky. Did not go as planned. The very next year, they had that draft pick. Courtney Brown in 2000, that did not go well. This is actually the 5th time, guys, since 2011, they've had 2 first-round picks. Joe Thomas started with a home run. The rest of them, being kind, not so great. They're really 1 for 8. And now they're on the clock with the first of their 2 picks in the round. They have 1 and 12. We think it's Myles Garrett. Would that turn around this tide, in your opinions?
I think when you look at the Cleveland Browns, and I think where they are right now is because of not taking Carson Wentz last year. They got a little cute. What they got to do is stop accumulating picks and start taking players like a quarterback, but don't reach for one. There was talk today they were going to take Mitch Trubisky number 1. But that was crazy. How are you going to pass up?
Live, we thought the first pick was going to be announced, but we do have another change of scenery.
Look who showed up.
Man, everything with the pregnancy and whatnot, with wifey
it's
boo.
It's crazy times right now.
Yeah, so we're on like watch and whatnot when those contractions come. So you know how it is, guys. But everything is. Just want to let you guys know everything is cool. Baby's fine. If you guys want to, we're gonna do the sonogram and everything again soon. So I'm gonna let you guys see all that. We're gonna take it from there, man.
Goes through some a tough time with nonsense being thrown out there and stuff. Why should she have to go through the stress
Exactly.
with the baby?
Right.
Like,
What I'm saying, Stat,
man.
man.
You might have to knock somebody out. But,
yeah, I'm trying to remain on the nonviolence. I don't want to take it that route anymore. I'm trying to change. I changed my life. But what are you gonna do? They come at your wifey's honor. Then you kind of have to step in and I can't have her stressed out right now. Not with the baby and put. We got the super baby, so you know how that is, man. Mm-hmm. You got to make sure everything is copacetic.
Got you. Now, the question asked was obviously the MVP voting was already done, but if they waited till after the playoffs, what do you think Westbrook's stock is? He had all the stats there, but he had those moments in the fourth quarter where he tried to take every shot Kobe Bryant style. But, I mean, the numbers are crazy. I'm not trying to make a negative case necessarily for Westbrook, but you do have Harden, who was more, with the more assists and the more team flow over there with the Rockets. And it's not like the Rockets have that great of a supporting cast, but it just happens to be better than OKC. So question is, do you think it would have helped or hurt Westbrook's stock for the MVP
definitely think that it would have hurt. I know the numbers you're talking about, but the numbers I look at is that field goal percentage, which was horrible throughout this entire series. Mm-hmm. If they had voted after the first round of the playoffs, it would have definitely went to Harden. Right now, like I said, I mean, I don't know. It could go either way between the two, but just watching the series, Westbrook has some crazy scoring numbers, but I mean, it took him with 47 shots to get 51 points in that triple-double.
And that was game 2?
Yeah, so, and that's pretty much how it was. Like, his field goal percentage was horrible throughout the series. And I know, he doesn't have a lot of shooters around him, but, I don't know, man. You got to do something. Like, there's no way your teammates are going to get involved in the Florida offense if you're shooting 40 times a game. Like, that's just not going to happen.
It seemed to me the things I didn't like, number one, he lines up on the free throw line to get his rebound stats up.
Yeah.
Well,
we know he's been doing all season.
He's a good, decent rebounder, but, I mean, it's usually the two forwards and the center.
But he did that last year. I mean, I don't know, and I don't want to speak like I know I'm inside the huddle there, but it seems like Billy Donovan likes him to just get the rebound and go. Because he did that last year, too. He was lining up on the free throw. Yeah. So I don't know if that's a way they do it to make it a little quicker offense and say, hey, just let Russ get the ball and go. Yeah. But, I mean, Anthony Roberson, who is a professional shooting guard, shot 2 for 19 from the free throw line in the playoffs.
You're absolutely right.
And this is a guy who's on the floor during the crunch time minutes of the game.
Because his defense
Russ had good as well. One, the best games of the year, with the exception of the free throw shooting game. Yeah. He was hitting threes. He wasn't great, but he never was great. He's out there.
Yeah. He is disgusting.
One reason and one reason only, to hold down Harden, to minimize Harden's performance, which he did in the later games because Harden's numbers weren't as crazy as they were against other opponents or the first game of the series. So, I mean, he did his job defensively, but...
No, he did do that. But I think the minus 58, the stats showing that when Russ wasn't on the floor, they got to score by 58 points during the series. Yeah. That, to me, says it all. Harden was able to get his regular rest, sit to start the fourth quarter like he always does, and Russ had to stay out on the floor because every time he went to the bench, they gave up the lead. They had the lead in every game going into the fourth quarter. Yeah. And as soon as he would go to the bench, a 12-point lead would become a 3-point lead. An 8-point lead, and now we're down 4. I mean, it got disgusting after a while.
I mean, a lot of that is because so much attention is put on Westbrook. He could distribute better. Getting back to my other point, there was the rebounding stat, but it seemed like he had 9 assists, and it seemed like he was throwing, and they were chucking up bad shots just to get him that 10th assist. It almost seemed like he was stat chasing for that triple-double.
I mean, his fourth quarter shot selection was bad. I will admit that.
And the shot selection of his teammates, just like after they would get a pass, they would have a hand in his face, but they would try to make the shot so he could get the 10th assist.
But do you think, all right, if we're on the court, if I pass the ball, are you really thinking if I catch the ball, I gotta shoot so Eric can get this assist? You're not thinking that.
You never know.
I mean, if those guys were thinking that,
no.
if those guys are thinking that, then he's definitely the MVP. If you run around with dudes that aren't aware enough to know the game situation and they're thinking more about, let me get this guy an assist as opposed to let me get
maybe they're just
Oscar Robertson
taking the shot because he's taking all the shots.
Nah.
It's like, I got the ball, I'm not going to pass it back to you.
It was the Celtic Pride with Damon Wayans.
Oh, when they kidnap him?
Yeah, when they kidnap him, and it's like, everybody knows you're going to shoot it, try passing, and he passes the ball, and the guy, everybody's shot, and it goes through his hands. That's how it is.
Man, listen, I just think that the way the team... I just waited the way the
first pick
team
is officially in on the NFL draft. Let's see what the
NFL draft.
So we working with
The Cleveland Browns
already have a rumor out there.
Myles Garrett, defensive end, Texas A&M.
and that's a smart selection.
I mean, who else was they going to get?
No, they could have won a lot of it, but that's smart. You're a bad team. You build your defense up first.
Yeah.
You know, Mitchell Trubisky is overrated. You don't go number one with Mitchell Trubisky. You get the best player on the board and you build your team from there.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, everyone thinks that drafting a quarterback is gonna help a horrible team, and to a certain extent, like it worked with Andrew Luck, but at the same time, you got, you know, if you don't have an offensive line, if you don't have a defense, you could have that quarterback, especially the offensive line. You see it there with the Jets every time, you know, they have a quarterback that, you know, they don't have an offensive line and, you know, it doesn't play very well. So
I agree.
It lowers the stock of the quarterback too. I'm sure quarterbacks didn't want to get drafted to the Browns, but it seems it's almost like routine for the Browns to have that first pick. They generally finish at the bottom of the barrel.
But they still, I don't understand. Like at some point, the team should turn around, right? If you have the top pick, like the past.
I mean, look at the 76ers. They're on the
76ers.
But
that's a method. That's
they
a method
can't stay healthy
matter.
though. That's the thing. They can't stay healthy. That's their problem.
Trust the process. The process of
everybody goes there and gets hurt.
How many years did like the Clippers had the number one pick and they couldn't do anything with it?
Yeah, and they wouldn't.
So it's all about who's running the team. But it's a smart pick by the Browns. I think he'll be a very good DN, and they got to turn around their defense first. You go 2-14. Quarterback is what the quarterback's gonna do? Make you 4-12 maybe tops?
Yeah. I mean, a quarterback wasn't gonna help the Browns in this situation. So I mean, they're looking at a long-term rebuild.
There isn't a Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck type of quarterback.
Not at all.
Nothing,
not this time.
Nothing in this year that's like this is the quarterback that's going to be a game changer. Like if that was the case, then that's a different story. But
Yeah. Well, we shall see. Hopefully he pans out. I know Warren Sapp had some negative comments about him. Said he wasn't that dominant, defensive player. Most of his sacks came in one game. Half of his sacks on the season. But you know what? We got to wait and see how his game transitions into into the NFL, and we'll see. I mean, the Browns got a long way to go. But and we got a long way to go on today's show. We got a special guest that's going to be joining us in a little while. My son is in the building, So once we get him on, we're going to talk. We got a whole lot to talk about him because he's been all over everywhere in the past couple of weeks. So we're gonna have a little fun with that interview in a second. But we do got a little bit of sports that we got to get to before we bring him onto the sets, because like you said, the NFL draft is going down. We still got the NBA playoffs, and this Westbrook Harden thing is over now at this point. But and
no surprise, we all thought that the Rockets were the better team. They were going to advance, so no surprise there. No, not too many surprises. The only thing, we predicted Utah might beat the Clippers, and now that Griffin's gone, that's pretty much a lock. Yeah. It could have been the Bulls upsetting the Celtics. Me and Eric talked about it before. Rondo, so 2 injuries drastically impacting the playoffs there. The only series we haven't talked about yet is the Spurs-Grizzlies, which is a little surprising that the Grizzlies were able to go back home.
They have not gotten rooked, I'm telling you. Ever since that game, they've been playing some good basketball. They put Zach Randolph back into the starting lineup, and I don't know. It's like Aldridge just can't do nothing with.
Aldridge's been bad this series.
Yes,
I think he's only averaging like 13, 14 points.
Yeah,
I think they should be a little concerned because we kind of saw this from them last year. Then they got bumped in the second round. And they really looked at age. Like, Tony Parker's giving them nothing. Yeah. I think Manu went like the first 4 games without scoring.
Yeah, he hasn't even really been getting minutes.
Yeah, so I mean, it's really Kawhi and then whoever else could score
Tony
for
had
him.
a good
Danny
game
Green's
or
been
two,
playing decent.
In games 1 and 2, he played decent, but
Age, man. You know,
They're showing the age.
And his injuries. You know, he got an injury every part of his body. He got the old Patrick Ewing injuries, which is everywhere is injured with Tony Parker. But it's actually been a pretty good series. You know, Conley and Kawhi going back and forth. You know, those two guys, and especially in that overtime game. I mean, just both amazing performances. But this has probably been one of the better series, which is surprising because of how boring both of those teams pretty much are.
The NBA TV series?
Yeah, exactly.
Put that one on NBA TV.
Yep.
We got a fan mail question. I'm going to switch sports for a little bit because we do want to get to our special guest. Timothy from Chelsea writes, Statman, were you surprised that the Rangers won their first round series in 6 games? Now, I'm not surprised that the Rangers are capable of being the wild card, knocking out the number 1. I'm only surprised that it didn't go to 7 games just to add more gray hairs to my head, because that's what they tend to do. They tend to go to overtime games. They tend to win by just 1. They, or lose by just 1. And it was yet another close series. Pretty much every game was decided by a goal, and a couple overtime games as well. But, the Rangers got it done as the wild card, beating the 1 seed, and they're playing Ottawa now as we speak. Last time I checked, it was tied 0-0 in the first intermission. And I think I'm very confident.
It's good, yeah. And I noticed you've been less, stress free. This playoff set, man. I've noticed that about you.
You mentioned
You've been
that
more
last
calm.
time. Yeah, last week you mentioned that.
I don't know what you're doing differently this
He's
year,
not
but
posting.
it's working.
You
Yeah,
didn't post
I
during
think
game
that's what.
6.
That's what it is.
Have you posted tonight?
No, I have not.
Then there you go.
Just keep up the strategy.
There you go.
It's working for you. All right, and we are gonna get
They
ready
won
to
every single game since I
It's a
decided
3-game
not
winning
to
streak,
post
right?
on Facebook
So,
during the game.
keep it
3-game
up,
winning
and
streak.
because we need a championship in New York. We know the Knicks aren't going to
I'm
come
not
on
going to do
anytime.
like the Knicks did and watch them
why
after
must you
they
bring
get
up the
losing.
Knicks,
I'm gonna
man?
stick
I'm
with
just
the
saying we could use a
strategy.
championship
Why,
in New
why are we
York.
talking about the Knicks?
I'm just saying the Rangers are playing well. You know, they have a good chance of winning. The
talking
Yankees
about
are looking
hockey.
good again
We're
right
talking
now.
about basketball.
Yeah, I'm just
Oh,
saying, but
man.
I'm just saying, the Knicks, are historically bad, or at least in the past 40-something years. But when, what? Listen, we got a
So one
special
more fan mail
guest.
question.
get Emma with some
Let's
drinks,
get
man,
these
since
fan
you
mail
wanna talk about the
questions
Knicks,
before we
man.
get our guest out here. Kevin from the Bronx writes, what's your thoughts on Derek Jeter teaming up with Jeb Bush to buy the Marlins?
I mean, it's Jeter, so I'm always going to support what Jeter does. And maybe I might have picked a better partner for him to go with than Jeb Bush. But, who's
He
more
got the money
deserving?
to get
Exactly.
the team, and
And-
he has his Florida impact and everything.
Exactly.
So.
I'm happy for Jeter. I hope they are able to. I know they got the bid. So I'm happy for Derek Jeter. I mean, like I said, who represents the game of baseball better than Derek Jeter? So why not have him on a
He
franchise?
doesn't have a chance to own a part of the Yankees. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now that would be. I would love to see that.
I'm
if they
sure
could
he
bring
would have
Jeter
loved
on.
to see that too, but
Florida, that's the
not
New York second home base. You know how that works. So it's all
Tampa,
good.
they have the Rays there.
Yeah.
But
Exactly, but it is it is what it is. But we are gonna get ready to bring our guest out. My son from the Bronx, rapper. Like I mentioned earlier, he's been all over everywhere the past couple of weeks. But actually, since it's Thursday, Throwback Thursday, we're gonna bring it back to one of the more powerful moments in his hip hop career. Him at the Million Man March back in 2015. So we're gonna watch that video. Him dropping some bars. Y'all know my son got bars. There's one thing he got is bars for days. I know everybody by now, y'all done seen the Funk Flex freestyle, probably the best one I've seen, period. Everybody's saying 2017, but I think that's probably the best Flex freestyle, period. And he actually has something to say inside of him, along with him just freestyling and whatnot. But so we're going to jump into that video, and when we come back, we're going to have my son on the set with us. We got a lot to talk about, man. Let's get it.
Else. What does that mean? Everywhere I go, ask me, what does that mean? I mean, what do you mean, what does it mean? Haven't you seen what I see on that screen for yourself? We need justice. Then they say, yeah, we need justice, but what you mean by or else? Well, we mean justice or else we're going to withhold our wealth. We're going to give them back their Christmas and leave them toys on that shelf. You see, up to this point, we the only ones being slain, so it's time to exercise our power and redistribute that pain. It's insane to do the same thing and expect a different result. The same ones who made us slaves is the ones we keep asking for help. Now ask yourself, how you gonna win fighting in the court when the ones who commit the murders is the ones who write the reports? All the lives we done lost, the tears we done cried, the promises was made, all the years they done lied. Ain't you tired of being tired? Or hearing one of us died and whoever killed them ain't guilty or don't even get tried? Cops don't even get fired for choking us on camera. But we worried about Black Friday and taking pictures with Santa. You can't expect respect when you don't respect yourself. When the ones sent to protect and serve don't protect, you gotta protect yourself. You can't expect no one else to love you more than you, so that means that all else is totally up to you. What you willing to sacrifice so your kid can have a life? Let's take Christmas from Santa Claus and give it back to Christ. And we ain't asking nice, it's a demand. This ain't a march, we gon' stand. Man, woman, child, together, hand in hand. Cause we understand the facts of the matter, so we can't say all lives until Black lives matter, but Black lives gotta matter to Black people. And the facts is, Blacks kill most of the Black people. But the difference, when they kill us, they don't let it slide. You see, Ray Ray found guilty before he even get tried. 10, 10, 15, the government is on notice. They're not gonna keep killing us and have us fill up your quotas, giving us jail records instead of diplomas. That 40 acres and a mule, we gonna need what you owe us, or else.
All right, welcome back. This is Throwback Thursday for you right there. My son at the Million Man March. First of all, how did that even come about?
Shout out to the Justice League, Tamika Mallory, the Women's March. I was part of the Justice League, and we did a march from New York to D.C., which we marched for 10 days with 3 pieces of legislation. And along that march, we were housed by different entities. Some was we stayed in churches, mosques, different places. People held us up. So when we got to D.C., there's a historical reverend by Reverend Willie Wilson. That's his name. He was actually one of the plannings on the first Million Man March. So he held us up. He let us stay in his church and everything. And the Justice League is such a diverse group, different nationalities, religious, just different. It's all together, just a melting pot. And when he seen us, he was like, that he felt like this is what the 20th anniversary of the Million Man March should look like. It wasn't just supposed to be Blacks. It wasn't supposed to just be segregated. He wanted all of us to come together for the same cause. So he was on a planning committee for the 20th anniversary, and he told the minister, like, these people need to be at the table. So my sister Tamika Mallory was one of the co-conveners of the march, and along that we did like a tour, the whole tour for 6 months straight. We went to different states and we talked about the march, and I just sat there and just soaked up all of everything he said, what Justice else meant, what it was to represent, and I just put together that spoken word, and by the grace of God, I made it to the stage to say it.
Wonderful, and it worked out. There's a lot of people and such, in an environment where you really want to show out, and you definitely set the tone. Like just the feeling going through your mind, and when you seeing all of these people out there in the cause that that is for.
I mean, of course you're nervous. You get out there and you just see a million people. You look over the grass and everybody's there, and you see Puff Daddy sitting there. You see all these people. So it just was like, I said a prayer to myself before I went up there, and just like, I'm coming from my heart.
Yeah.
So it was just like,
because that's not like a regular show where the fans is waiting because they know your words and everything. Exactly. That's different.
It's just that if you don't do what you gotta do, you gotta get out of there. So I knew that there was going to be a lot of powerful speakers there, a lot of powerful people, and I just wanted my message to be conveyed properly.
Now, how long did it take you to decide what things you wanted to talk about? You talked about like the commercialism of the holiday Christmas. You talked about how kind of, implying that, boycotting is, certain corporations is really the only way to really get your message across, because you're not going to hurt them unless you hurt their pocket. Like, was that, when did you know that was one of the messages that you were going to convey, and, how long did it take you to write what you wanted to say?
Well, like I said, being with the minister and traveling with him and him doing different speaking engagements, that was one of his main points. His main focal points was that Christmas had been diluted with us shopping, and Santa Claus was this big fat man who had just pushed Jesus to, that was supposed to be the birthday of Jesus, and somehow Santa Claus had just pushed Jesus to the side. You know, so
Easter Bunny did it too.
Exactly. So every time I think about that, I thought about that. I said, that's really the truth. Like, we just forgot that we celebrating Jesus' birthday, and we just told, all we see is a fat man with a white beard. So, you know, I thought that was a very intricate and it was a very strong point to focus on in delivering my message.
And another thing in that speech, you're talking about accountability, you know, as far as, you know, black people taking accountability for themselves as well. And you have had a pretty checkered past and, you know, turning things around from, you spoke about, you know, being in prison before and now turning things around and really being a part of this, you know, the social justice movement, trying to make a change, not just throughout the Bronx, but New York City as a whole. So where do you guys go moving forward?
I mean, you know, that's one of the things that the Justice League we focus on. The Justice League is an initiative of The Gathering, which is Harry Belafonte's organization. And that's one of the main focuses that Mr. B tells us, is that those who are directly impacted have to be part of the solution. So coming from prison, living in low-income communities, poverty-stricken communities, crime-infested communities, I understand exactly what those individuals are faced with every day. I understand that I made decisions that I probably wouldn't have made if I had different opportunities or had different people to tell me that there were different opportunities. And a lot of times we're just not given that information, you know, or we're not given that information by people that we respect, who are credible messengers to us, that we feel actually been through it. Unfortunately, my prison term gives me a level of credibility amongst the people in our community. So I utilize that, and I say to myself, if they're gonna follow me, I gotta be leading them somewhere. Yeah. So I don't want you to go down the same, you know, the same road that I took, because I made mistakes. Yeah. So if you're able to learn from me, if you're able to idolize me, if you want to look up to me, then listen to me tell you how not to make the mistakes I make. Don't make the mistakes I make, because what we glorify in our communities is just wrong. You know, we glorify the fact that somebody is a shooter or busts his gun or this and that. And at the end of the day, those things don't end you nowhere but death or prison. So we don't realize that. We don't realize that the gangsters that we see all the time and they glorify either died or spending the rest of their life in jail. And that's what we glorify. You know what I'm saying? So until someone is able to change that narrative, until those people that they glorify are telling them, don't glorify me, because I made mistakes. If you want to glorify me, if you want to do something for me, then be able to you know, weave through and take my knowledge and do something better with yourself.
Yeah.
Now, the Funk Flex freestyle, you had a pretty powerful message there. I mean, you see rappers kind of change what they rap about as their career progresses, when they get older, when they get more mature, whatever the case may be. But you actually apologize to the fans out there if you sent them a negative message. So I haven't really seen anybody really do that before. So could you tell us about that? Was that, you know, something that you wanted to get out there, or?
It's about accountability. We can't ask the police to be accountable, and we don't hold ourselves accountable. I realize that the message that's in our music is very, very detrimental to us, because I go to visit the prisons with the youth and I sit down and have conversations with them, and I asked them a question one day. I said, how many of y'all were either during the commission of the crime that got you in here or prior to that were listening to your favorite rapper, and it made you feel like you had the energy to do this crime that you did? And 9 out of 10 of them raised their hand. So we don't realize the influence that our music have. And we don't, a lot of them just say, yo, I'm just an entertainer, I'm just making music. You have the same, if not more of an influence than a preacher has. Because you giving a sermon the same way the preacher. When you stand up in front of hundreds and thousands of people and you constantly say something to them, it conditions them to believe in that. The same way when a preacher sits up there and he gives you his sermon and you live your life by that, it's the same way that people live their life. Our culture is dictated by our music. The music dictates what you wear, how you cut your hair, everything about you. the way you talk, everything. So if our artists are not accountable for that and don't want to take accountability for that, then we can't support them. You understand what I'm saying? We realize that we all from we from the ghetto, we from the hood. There's a reality that goes on in the communities. So we don't want to ignore that. We want to talk to that, but we want to talk the facts of that. We want to give you the ups and the downs. We want to tell you that, all right, you can sell drugs and you're gonna make a lot of money for 2 years, but then you're gonna do 200 years in jail. That's the facts. Nobody says that. They just tell you, yo, we're gonna hustle, we're gonna do this and this and that. And when there's no consequences, then somebody listen to you get a false sense of reality. And then these kids just follow, they just see the glory of it. Nobody's saying the flip side. And that's what my problem is. Like, I don't want you not to tell your reality. If you was a hustler and you sold drugs, tell people that. But tell the reality. Tell them how many of your friends you lost. Tell them how much time you lost. Tell them how scared you was. Tell them how maybe you escaped the pitfalls. That's why I listened to Jay-Z, because there was always a message in it. Even though he told you, I hustled and this and that, but he told you about the friends he lost on the way and the days that he was scared to death and he was seconds away from losing his life, because that's a reality of it. So when you made that decision that you was going to hustle, you understood that reality. That's what's going on. This is why the streets is so messed up in that regard, because there's no criteria for anything. The people who are committing these crimes and living this so-called life, this gangster life, are not even prepared to deal with the consequences of that. So when they faced with those consequences, they tell on people that ain't got nothing to do with them, because you never was really built like that anyway. So the reality, if you give people the opportunity and give them the facts, most of these kids wouldn't even be involved in the street life.
So how, as a whole, do you convey that message to the hip hop community? I posted on Facebook earlier. I said, is it bad that my 3-year-old nephew is up here singing every lyric to Bad and Bougie? So how do you, as someone in the hip hop world, how do you convey that message? Because I know, recently you've been going back and forth with Troy Ave over, his, not even his music, but more so the interview on the Breakfast Club. But how do you convey that message to the rest of the hip hop community and actually get them to take a look and say, well, if this is how I'm making my money, because people love me singing, rapping these songs about my guns and my selling drugs and killing people and whatever it is that I'm putting in my music, how do you convey that message and get them to really say, all right, let me try something different?
I mean, you just have to be consistent in your messaging. You can't change everybody, but if you show them a motto and say this actually works, being true and being honest actually works. You know what I'm saying? We not preachers. I'm not religious. I'm just a spiritual individual, and I believe that there's karma in everything you do. And I believe that I have children, I have sons, and I know that I was influenced by music. If I sat there and said that Nas and them didn't influence me in certain ways, I didn't want to be Nas, and when I was hearing Street Dreams and I was driving down, on the highway to Virginia with whatever in the trunk, like I wasn't playing that song because that's what I wanted to live like. If I lied and said that that's not real, then I wouldn't be real. So understanding that, I have to say, okay, what is it that I want to convey to? What message do I want to convey? Do I feel like me making money supersedes what's going on in our communities, what's going on with our culture? Do I continue to lead them down the wrong road, or do I tell them the facts? I'm gonna tell you the facts, and that's all I ask. I don't ask you not to talk your reality, but be factual in it. My issue, just like with Troy Ave, it wasn't. He's been Dope Boy Troy for years. I don't say nothing. That's your music. You want to make it. But when you have a platform like this and it's about real life, because now the entertainment part of it is gone. You know what I'm saying? People are like, oh, you don't say this about Rick Ross and he was this and that. I said, but when you watch Rick Ross do an interview, it's about uplifting the community. You might listen to his music and feel like he talks about this, but every time he has a conversation, it's about we need to buy back our community. We need to build this, and it's about putting your people in positions to survive. It ain't about you glorifying stupid shit. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't mean to curse. I'm sorry, but it ain't really about that. So that's what I judge you by. I judge you when you get a platform now that it's past the entertainment, and the mic is you're not in the booth no more, and they sitting there and they talking to you. How you portray yourself at that point is way more important than just the lyrics that you put in your song, because they look to coincide. They look to see the balance. There has to be a balance. There has to be a reality-based balance. And so when your reality is still falsehood and it's still just stupidity, then now you are leading someone astray.
So have you actually spoken to Troy Ave?
I don't really speak to Troy Ave. We've had a couple encounters that just just rubbed me to the point where, you know, I'm not even interested in communicating. Because you just realize when you know how you meet somebody and you realize we just different type of people.
Yeah.
And that's what it is what it is. And I've had conversations with, you know, me and his manager got into like a conversation on Twitter about something that happened. And I was saying like, maybe he should just humble himself a little. This is prior to him being shot or whatever, you know. And because being from the streets, I understand that when you put a certain energy out, it returns.
Yeah.
That's just the bottom line. I did 7 years in prison. I don't got no cuts on my face. Nobody ain't never take nothing from me. And I can't handle myself accordingly. Anybody will tell you that I was always a stand-up individual because the way I carried myself. But there were dudes that came into the house and they diddy-bop through and they ice grilled you and were talking about what they had in the streets and this and that. And they didn't make it 2 months in jail because the energy you put out. So you invited these people into that. So I understand that. So when I was having a conversation watching Troy Ave, I understand that you're inviting an energy that either you don't know or you don't care. But if I tell you that maybe you have to humble yourself a little bit because there's nothing wrong with being arrogant and even being confident.
Yeah.
But when it's to the point of disrespect and it makes people feel like you belittling them, then what happens is they have to prove to you some other way. Because person might not have as much money as you, but they might feel like they could beat you up or they can shoot you so that they can show you that they're better than you and you can't talk down to them. So I understand that reality. Everybody doesn't understand that reality. And Troy being a grown 30-plus-year-old man, you have to understand that. I can have that conversation with an 18, 19, even a 25-year-old. But when you reach 30, that means that you've made a conscious decision that this is who you are. And this is the decision you're gonna make. So at that point, I just say we're on different spectrums. And then now when you do something and you put yourself on a platform that's global and you relay a message that's totally contrary to what I believe in, then now you open yourself up for me to combat that statement that you made. So that's all it is. It ain't no physical beef. I don't wish any harm on him. Actually, I don't want harm for him.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm having this conversation. So maybe it could save him and he start to reflect. You can't just think everybody is hating. Sometimes you gotta think to yourself, what is it that I'm doing that's contributing to the negative energy that's coming my way?
Yeah. Now, Mike, you had a strong presence in the Bronx before, you went through your situation. You came home, now you got a strong presence out there again. How do you feel some of the young boys is grasping your message?
Oh man, it's overwhelming. When you do the right thing and it's just based on doing the right thing, you don't have any ulterior motives. It's just rewarding to see that people take it that. Like I go through my DMs in my Instagram and there's kids at 16 and 17 that's like, yo, I watched your interview, I listened to that Fun Master Flex freestyle and I really want, it spoke to me. Like I've been in the streets and all this, and I don't want to do that no more. Like you really inspired me to think outside the box, and that's what it's about. If you could save one person, and you can just give them an alternative, to what they've been taught, because we just been taught wrong. Yeah. A lot of us have the principles of the street are not the wrong thing, because those principles, if you apply them properly in any setting, then you can go far in life. It's just that what we put those principles around is the wrong thing. The foundation that is structured around. I live by the principles and codes that I learned in the streets. I just took those codes and formulated them around something that's more profitable and more about growth and development.
Backtracking your career a little bit, you've met a lot of famous people. You were on the Rough Riders album, Jadakiss. You did a collabo with DMX. Speaking of, before you said 9 out of 10 people influencing, I hear a DMX song, I want to punch somebody.
But the only thing...
It helps me with my boxing.
No, it does. It does.
But
the thing about X is so pure in who he is, and he gives you the flip side and the good. He is a person in conflict with himself. Yeah. And that's who he is every day. Like every day he's going against the evil and the bad and good, but he's a good-natured person. So he might be talking about he gonna shoot somebody and then he's praying to God the next time. Yeah. That's a fact. And about his family, and you know what I'm saying? So, but that is real, because some people feel like that. Sometimes you get and you have a conversation, and you think about you got an enemy and you might want to do these things to your enemy. I heard him say that in an interview. When I say negative and I talk about all this crime, it's what I would do to my worst enemy. Someone who's trying to do to me, this is what I would do to them first. And when you explain that and you're having a conversation with somebody, they can be able to grasp that. You can realize that. But when you don't, when that message, you saying, I'm shooting somebody, yeah, and I'll do it in real life. That's what being a G is. You know, I'm going to shoot people, they shoot whatever. I'm out here hustling. Then it's like, okay, I don't know what your goal is. You know, I no longer understand what it is. I get you telling a story, but if you glorifying that, if you just okay with that, if it's not just a means to the end, because when I was in the streets hustling, it was a means to the end. I didn't want to hustle. I didn't like seeing people that I know from my community dope fiend up and drugged up. I didn't want to know that I was contributing to that. It wasn't nothing cool about that to me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It was embarrassing actually to me. You know what I'm saying? So when you glorify that, then we just two different individuals.
Yeah. You said something really dope in a recent interview too, where you talked about the OGs on the block. They used to look out for the block, make sure the kids didn't go down that path. What you think changed?
I think what happened is that we my generation and the generation right before, like, we just gave up. We gave up. We stopped. You know, we stopped believing in the youth. We started saying, you can't tell them nothing. If you have conversations with dudes today, like, people be mad at me, like, yo, why you said something about Troy? You should just mind your business or not say nothing. I'm like, the problem is, why didn't you say something? It's not why I said nothing. Why nobody else seen that this is wrong? Why y'all continue to watch these people take our culture somewhere left and with no principles and no morals, and y'all just okay with it? Why are we glorifying the fact that somebody shot a gun? And we know better. We know that you shooting a gun doesn't make you this big gangster. You know what I'm saying? I know that. I've been around people that shot guns. There's nothing tough about them. So I understand that. So when you create this false narrative and you know that, but you sit around and I say I'm right, yeah, you right, but it's no but. You can't tell me I'm right, but, because everything after but is BS. It means that you have made a conscious decision to peacefully coexist with something that you know is wrong. I'm never gonna make that decision.
That's what sells, though. I mean, unfortunately, that's what sells.
Because that's the only thing. Unfortunately, that's the only thing you're selling. If all you sold was liver to somebody and they didn't know that you had this beautiful T-bone steak, and all they said is, we got his liver, and you keep feeding them liver, they're gonna try to make liver taste good. They're gonna season it up, and they're gonna like, this is good. And then you say, yo, this steak over here, and they're like, what is steak? I don't even know what that is. So they gotta start getting pieces and be like, yo, you know what, this is really good. It's actually way better than liver. But if they're not given that opportunity to take it, then they're gonna say, look, liver is selling, because that's all you're selling.
What you said about DMX before, it's almost like, you know, Al Pacino's not really Tony Montana. It's like kind of like
he goes home and cut. Yeah. You know, he says cut, he get a check, he go home, his family is good, and then you put him on your shirt and you go out there try to imitate him and you do life in jail.
And you're coming up with doing a little bit of acting yourself. We got a clip of your upcoming project. Can you tell us about that while they get the clip ready?
Which one is? Oh, the upcoming one that I just did.
And They Were Four.
And They Were Four. Shout out to my boy Saquon.
So we did our homework. See?
Yeah.
We got Ladybug coming over here. She has her whole fan base and all that. So we gotta make sure she gets a little time to talk too. So we're gonna play that trailer, and when we come back, we don't have the trailer ready.
They don't have the trailer ready. Yeah.
Oh, they get it together. Why they get it together?
So tell us about it.
Well, and They Were Four. My friend Saquon, he's actually a dude I went to high school with. We were in high school with, and he's a film director. We had he gave me a small part in his last film, and this time he reached out to me. He was like, "Yo, I got a big role for you in this movie. It's superheroes, and it's based off the movement. Like, these are movement superheroes, people who fight against racial and civil injustice." So I was like, that sounds dope, you know what I'm saying? Y'all have all
right up your alley too.
Yeah,
exactly.
Dope concept.
He
right
said,
there.
y'all have your own superpowers, and you know,
Nice.
and y'all use it, and then y'all come together, and you know, so the concept was dope. So actually, so when we film it, I'm like, yo, this could actually be a dope movie. You know what I'm saying? So he's a real creative dude, man. Shout out to Saquon. And
Are you gonna be doing more acting or?
oh yeah, I read a script for a major role. Hopefully, you know, I get it. I think I did get it, but I just don't know when we're gonna start shooting it. This is like a really dope movie. So I love acting.
All right, Statman's been doing his acting thing as well. So if y'all need some extras, he can do the businessman, whatever. He plays basketball too.
Extras. I know
he
how to do my lines.
Let him get up in there. But we do have the trailer ready. And shout out to Lee, who's actually one of the producers on the project as well, for sending me the trailer. Make sure we had everything ready to go. I did have to edit it because sometimes the music on the trailer, you got some curses in it, we can't play it on TV. But we're gonna rock and roll, let that play. When we come back, Ladybug is gonna join us on the set.
Yeah, that's how we own it. That's how we own it. I'm from the city of the bright lights and the nightlife, where you can sell anything for the right price. You can bag any chick if your ice right. Everybody got a pair of Timbs and some white Nikes. I'm from New York City, that's right, where the dudes all gritty and the chicks all pretty, but the clubs all litty. Try to get power like 50 or revolt like Diddy, or want a title like Jay. Hustlers move powder like Yay. R.I.P. the chicks. We sport levers and minks, buy bottles and drinks. Spend thousands.
All right, welcome back. And there were 4, My Son's new movie, and you on the soundtrack as well. That's definitely a My Son song. Right there. Really quick, if you guys are just joining us, make sure you guys are following us on the web, realfansrealtalk.com, facebook.com/realfansrealtalk, Twitter, Instagram @realfantalk, and subscribe to that YouTube channel, youtube.com/ForTheFansProductions. This interview will be up there as well. You can see all the other stuff that's on the YouTube channel and on the website. And if you're just joining us once again, Ladybug is with us on the set. What you got for us today, Ladybug?
Well, I don't got that much, I'm still trying to get over my sickness. I wasn't here last week. I wasn't feeling well. So I'm still slowly getting back, but I just want to let everybody know I'm here. I just had to touch on this one topic because I have to give a big shout out to Charlamagne. Everybody loves to hate him, hates to love him, and he came out with a book recently, and I'm definitely in support of that book. I'm gonna pick up that book, and in the midst of him promoting the book and just doing marketing and promotions, the media came and asked him about Colin Kaepernick and his whole situation and why the delay on him being picked up by another NFL franchise. So, Charlamagne has no problem answering questions and answering them open and honestly. And he's just saying, you know what, it's still fishy. I don't get it. He basically said, if there's Colin Kaepernick and the American flag and you could only save one, the answer you make gives him his whole explanation. I'm like, listen, you have to, like I said, you love to hate him, you hate to love him, but it always goes on I think it's been almost like on like the 10th week now with the whole Colin Kaepernick and everybody having their own opinion and their own 2 cents. So, now that you're here, and welcome, nice to finally meet you. I definitely want to know your opinion on that, and basically, how do you feel about it? Do you feel like it's basically just him being penalized by what he's doing, or is it really just him asking for too much and him just not producing what he's asking for?
I think Colin Kaepernick is a hero. Like, hands down, he's a hero, and I think he took a stance, and his stance is what he's being punished for. I don't believe that you telling me that he's not. The man went to the Super Bowl his first year as a quarterback. Like, you just don't do that. So you just got to put him in. You understand the system, and there are a bunch of systems that need a quarterback like him. Even if it ain't a starter quarterback, it's somebody that can be a backup quarterback to where he could find a home in the NFL, and they know that. So I think this is just pretty much backlash for him having a position that's not comfortable, and they probably don't want to have that level of, people paying attention to their team for that. So a lot of them don't want to take that. They don't want to take on that risk. So that's.
I think if he does get signed, it's probably going to be within the next couple of weeks. The draft is today. I mean, he's not the Colin Kaepernick he was. He lost weight. He wasn't playing that well. He didn't have a surrounding team either. But he's not. He might be a backup quarterback, and he might be a starting quarterback depending on where he goes. But you have the draft today. There's some teams that probably want to see if they can get a quarterback out of that. But I think he'll be signed within the next couple of weeks, though, now that the draft is almost over.
I mean, if he's willing to take less money. I kind of agree with you, Mike. He is a hero for what he did. But I don't think this has anything to do with that. he was already struggling 2 years before this happened, and they were actually looking to get rid of him. Remember last offseason, the Jets were looking to trade for him. So he was already struggling as a quarterback. He's not the same guy who took a good San Fran team to the Super Bowl. I think if he's willing to take less money, he'll get a shot somewhere, but we can't pretend like he's the best quarterback sitting out there.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that when you look at him and Johnny, who's already got a job.
Johnny don't have a job yet, though.
They told me I heard that he already had a job.
Nah, he don't have a job
They
yet.
didn't hire him yet?
Nah. I think the better comparison is like if Jay Cutler gets a job before Colin Kaepernick, then that's a little iffy because Jay Cutler's already like 35. He hasn't produced for like 4 or 5 years. So if he gets a job before Colin, then yeah, then you could say, all right, this looks a little iffy. But I think right now, the teams who need quarterbacks, they're not in position to win. So it's like, why pay Kaepernick $8 to $10 million if I'm not even close to winning, when I can just go with this young guy and he could just fill the void until we get our future star there.
I mean, I hear you.
He is a hero for what he did. He took a stand and he created the movement that other NFL guys started to follow. But I think this is more about just a combination of he wasn't good for about 2 years before last year anyway. And he wants starter money and he wants a chance to start. He wants pretty much what Robert Griffin got last year, and he's not going to get that. I think that's what it really comes down to.
Well, really quick, because we are running low on time. NBA playoffs is going on right now. Well, let me ask first, are you a Knicks fan?
Of course I am.
Sorry to hear that. Now let me ask you, how disappointing is it for you every year we go through this issue with the Knicks and they don't win?
It's really hard. It's really hard because, you know, Phil Jackson destroyed that team. He destroyed the chemistry and everything of the team.
I've been saying that for weeks, man.
He took the team camaraderie away.
Yeah.
He started dividing. He started saying things that was just cancerous, and it just because they started out to where you seen the potential where they were able to go.
Yeah.
And he just got into the mind. You know, you can't play basketball when your mind is not focused. And then everybody just started straying. It just was like. They just literally just dismantled it. Because they had a team to where they could have competed. They showed at the beginning of the season. They showed that they was able to compete with every team.
Yeah.
You know, and it just like then at the end of the season, it just wasn't. They weren't even competing no more. It just wasn't even fun to watch. You know what I'm saying? They didn't even look like they were enjoying themselves.
Yeah.
He likes to bring up the Knicks all the time.
I wanted to get your pick on the finals. Who you think is going to go to the finals and win it all? But I had to address the elephant in the room first to see how you felt about the Knicks, and then we could take it there.
Just
So
like
you know,
us suffer when we talk about the Knicks. But you have a history in Rucker Park playing with like AI, Marbury. Could you tell us? We only got about a minute left.
But you just RIP to Greg. Greg was the one who ran EBC. He just had his funeral today, man. He was a good friend of mine. But yeah, I played with AI. Yeah, it's like a brother of mine. Man.
Who had the better crossover though?
I don't know. I know my crossover was serious. Man.
All right.
I learned mine from Shamgar, so I don't know. Sham had the best crossover I ever seen. So
I 30 seconds freestyle in before we get off. I'm putting you on the spot, but
let me see. They asked me what's my image. I said I'm like vintage wine. I'm like Gandhi and Malcolm intertwined. See, I was into crime, but my inner mind was into enlightening and trying to shine. I'm just a different kind. I was wintertime with a twist of summer. My favorite number is 76. It's a twisted number because it's mixed among the devil and God. So keeping my mind level is hard. My mental is scarred. I'm gentle but hard, aggressive but calm. I'm so progressive, but I'm selective with charm. I demand respect. I can't connect with pawns because I bond with kings and think steps beyond. I could play checkers, I'd just rather play chess. I could say yeah, I'd just rather say yes. I guess one way to paraphrase it best is I'm like Sunday and Saturday with breath. I just went left and I lost like 100 of y'all. In the same breath, I picked up 200 or more. I was the black boy lost in front of the store, fully prepared to bang that gun in the war. I was the kid copping his tongue numb from the roar. I was the son of the whore, the voice of the poor, the voice of the young that they want to ignore, but it's too late. I done come in the door and now it's a problem.
That's my new artist I just signed for $1 million.
I
Stop playing
am
with
done.
me. We appreciate you coming
just
through.
shut it down right there.
Yeah,
just take the mics off. Take the mics
we
off.
Out of there,
man. That's it.
Good night.
Real fans, real talk.
Don't do them like that, Mike. Come on, man.
Now we gotta go overtime.
That's right. Thank y'all for having me.
RealFansRealTalk.com Where Arthur Diamonds, Trip Young, and intern Tom. For the white and black fans, Asia to Manhattan. I get all my facts from my bro Mark the Stats Man. If you're not tuned in, I recommend the CAT scan. And if your brain checks out, then you deserve a backhand. Sports, gossip, all the hot topics. Real fans, realtalk.com got it. They got the hottest bloggers.
Jeremy Lindhurst?
Well, log onto the site and you can hear it from them first. I'm talking about the latest, I'm talking about the greatest. Go check out the archives, even tell a neighbor, tell him Bobby sent ya. From spring to winter, tuning in should be the...
Yeah, sure. Yeah, he said